Artificial intelligence has become an inseparable part of modern life. It influences the way we communicate, learn, and even create. The rise of AI-generated content has sparked a global discussion. Is artificial intelligence enhancing creativity or slowly replacing it? To answer that, we need to understand what creativity is and how AI fits into that definition. Creativity refers to the ability to generate original ideas, make new connections, and produce something that holds value. It is not limited to art or music. It exists in science, problem-solving, design, and storytelling. For centuries, creativity was seen as an exclusively human trait. It relied on imagination, emotional experience, and context. AI, however, operates differently. It does not feel emotions or form intentions. Instead, it recognizes patterns, processes data, and predicts outcomes. AI can create images, write text, or compose music by learning from massive datasets of existing human work. What looks like creativity is often an advanced form of pattern recognition. The reason AI-generated art seems impressive is because it reproduces elements of creativity, novelty, coherence, and style without true understanding. It can simulate human artistic behavior, but it does not experience inspiration, curiosity, or purpose. Historically, every major technological development has raised concerns about the loss of human authenticity. When photography was invented, painters feared it would end the art of portraiture. When synthesizers appeared, musicians worried that electronic sound would make traditional instruments irrelevant. Yet in each case, technology eventually became another creative tool. Artificial intelligence may represent the next stage of that pattern, but the scale is much larger. Unlike previous tools, AI can automate the thinking processes once considered uniquely human. AI can analyze millions of paintings to produce a new image in seconds. It can write a short story that fits a desired theme or compose a song based on mood descriptions. These outputs are often high quality, but they lack human context. An AI-generated painting does not express joy or grief. It simply follows visual structures it has identified in data. This raises two essential questions. First, if the creative process can be replicated, does the source of creativity still matter? Second, does the convenience of AI reduce the motivation for humans to create independently? Critics argue that relying on AI tools weakens originality. When people use pre-trained models to generate art or ideas, they start from an algorithm's interpretation of existing work, not from their own experiences. Over time, this can lead to cultural homogenization, content that looks different but is built from the same learned formulas. However, advocates of AI-assisted creativity see it differently. They view AI as a collaborator rather than a competitor. From their perspective, AI expands creative potential by handling repetitive or technical tasks, allowing humans to focus on conceptual thinking and innovation. For example, filmmakers use AI for color correction and sound design while focusing on storytelling and character development. Musicians use AI tools to explore new sound combinations. Writers use language models to overcome creative blocks. In these cases, AI is not replacing creativity, it is extending what creators can do. The key factor is intent. When AI is used passively, it can produce generic results. But when guided by human input and critical thinking, it can serve as a valuable partner in the creative process. To understand this balance more deeply, we must look at the nature of human creativity itself, where it comes from, how it develops, and why it cannot be fully replicated by data. The human basis of creativity. To understand whether artificial intelligence threatens creativity, we first need to define where human creativity comes from and why it matters. Human creativity is the product of three core elements: cognition, emotion, and experience. Together, they form the foundation of all original thought. Cognition represents the mental processes that allow us to connect ideas, recognize patterns, and solve problems. Emotion provides the motivation and meaning that guide those ideas toward expression. Experience gives us context, the accumulated knowledge and memories that shape our perception of the world.
Artificial intelligence can replicate cognition to some extent. It can identify relationships between concepts, predict outcomes, and generate patterns. But emotion and lived experience remain beyond its reach. AI can describe sadness or joy, but it cannot feel them. It can analyze the concept of beauty, but it cannot perceive beauty as a human does. This distinction matters because creativity is not just about producing something new. It's about expressing something meaningful. A poem written by a person reflects an inner experience. A poem written by a machine reflects the structure of language. Both can appear similar, but only one carries intention. In psychology, researchers often describe creativity as a process with 4 stages: preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. Preparation involves gathering knowledge and exploring ideas. Incubation is the quiet period where the mind unconsciously forms connections. Illumination is the aha moment, the sudden insight or breakthrough. And verification is where the idea is refined and tested for value. Artificial intelligence can perform the preparation and verification stages efficiently because they involve data analysis and evaluation. But the middle stages, incubation and illumination, are deeply tied to consciousness. They rely on subconscious processing, intuition, and the emotional weight of discovery. These are qualities AI does not possess. For example, when a scientist forms a new hypothesis, that moment of inspiration often comes from years of curiosity and personal fascination. When a writer discovers a character's voice, it emerges from empathy and imagination. Machines can simulate outcomes, but they do not experience insight in the way humans do.
Another essential factor in human creativity is cultural and social context. Creative works are often a reflection of the time and environment in which they are produced. Art, music, and literature respond to societal changes, political climates, and shared emotions. When Picasso painted Guernica, it was not just a visual composition. It was a response to war and human suffering. AI lacks this relational awareness. It can generate a painting that resembles Guernica, but it cannot understand the event that inspired it. Human creativity also thrives on limitation. Throughout history, constraints have forced people to innovate. A lack of resources, tools, or time often pushes creators to think differently. In contrast, AI has almost no such constraints. It can produce thousands of variations instantly. Paradoxically, this abundance can reduce meaning. When anything can be generated effortlessly, the value of creation itself can appear diminished. Another component of creativity is personal identity. Artists and innovators often draw from their unique perspectives, their upbringing, beliefs, and experiences. This individuality gives art authenticity. AI, trained on large data sets, draws from collective human expression. Its voice is a statistical blend of many voices. As a result, its outputs tend to lack personal identity, even when technically impressive. Despite these limitations, AI does excel in assisting human creativity. It can act as an idea generator, a collaborator, or an amplifier. By automating repetitive work, AI frees humans to focus on higher-level thinking, conceptual design, strategic decisions, or emotional storytelling. In that sense, it can enhance rather than replace the creative process. The real challenge is not whether AI will surpass human creativity, but whether humans will maintain the desire to create independently. Convenience can lead to dependency. If creators begin relying entirely on AI for inspiration, the human component of creativity, curiosity, experimentation, persistence may weaken over time. Education plays an important role here. Teaching people to use AI as a tool rather than a replacement ensures that the next generation of artists, designers, and innovators remain active participants in the creative process. Students can learn how to guide AI outputs critically, evaluate results, and inject personal meaning into them. The distinction between using AI creatively and allowing AI to create for us will define the future of art and innovation. Understanding this boundary requires examining how AI actually generates creative outputs, the mechanisms behind machine learning, and why its form of creativity differs from ours. That will be the focus of the next section.
The algorithmic process of creativity. To understand how artificial intelligence appears creative, it is necessary to look at how it processes information and produces outputs. AI systems that generate creative work, such as text, music, or images, rely on a technology called machine learning. Machine learning allows a computer to identify patterns in data and use those patterns to make predictions or generate new content. The core of this process is the neural network, an architecture inspired by the structure of the human brain. A neural network consists of layers of interconnected nodes, or neurons, that process information. Each connection has a weight, which determines how strongly one node influences another. When data is fed into a neural network, for example, thousands of images of landscapes, the system gradually learns which features are important: shapes, colors, textures, and spatial relationships. Over time, it adjusts its internal parameters to improve accuracy. The result is a model that can recognize patterns and generate new examples that resemble what it has learned.
In creative applications, AI models like GPT, dalle, or midjourney use this principle on a large scale. They are trained on enormous data sets containing text, images, audio, and video from across the internet. The AI does not understand these materials in a human sense. It identifies patterns that correlate statistically. When prompted to create something, it draws from those learned relationships to produce a new combination of elements. For instance, when a user requests a painting of a futuristic city, the AI generates an image by referencing millions of examples of cities, architecture, lighting, and artistic styles it has studied. It does not imagine the city. It predicts the most probable arrangement of pixels that align with the prompt and resemble what humans associate with futuristic and city. This prediction-based system is why AI can seem creative without genuine understanding. Its creativity is synthetic, meaning it combines existing information in novel ways. In contrast, human creativity is semantic and experiential. It builds meaning through awareness and interpretation. To illustrate this difference, consider how a human artist and an AI might approach the same task. The artist begins with a mental concept, perhaps inspired by emotion or memory. The AI begins with data, The artist refines their work through intuition and judgment. The AI refines through mathematical optimization. The final results may both appear artistic, but the processes behind them are fundamentally different. AI art often impresses because it replicates stylistic qualities efficiently. It can mimic realism, impressionism, or abstract expressionism within seconds. However, it cannot originate a style in the way humans historically have. Human art evolves through reaction, against tradition, against institutions, against previous generations. Each artistic movement, from the Renaissance to modernism, emerged as a cultural response. AI does not participate in culture. It reproduces patterns derived from it. Another important concept is data bias. Since AI learns from human-created content, it also inherits human biases and cultural trends. If most data training reflects specific artistic norms or perspectives, the AI will tend to reproduce them. This can lead to the repetition of stereotypes or the dominance of popular aesthetics rather than challenging existing norms. True creativity, however, often challenges norms. In language models, the same pattern applies. When generating text, AI predicts the next word based on probability. It selects phrases that are statistically most likely to follow, not necessarily those that express insight. This is why AI writing can sound coherent, yet lacks genuine perspective. It mirrors understanding rather than demonstrating it.
Despite these limitations, algorithmic creativity has practical strengths. It can analyze vast amounts of data much faster than any human, identify trends, and propose ideas that humans might overlook. Designers use AI to generate multiple prototypes rapidly. Musicians use it to experiment with harmonies. Writers use it to explore alternative phrasing. In these contexts, AI acts as an accelerator, a way to explore possibilities that would otherwise take much longer to imagine. However, this efficiency introduces a philosophical question. If creativity becomes effortless, does it lose its value? Human creativity is often appreciated not only for the final result, but also for the process behind it, the effort, time, and insight involved. When a machine can produce art instantly, it changes how society perceives effort and originality. In the coming years, this will influence how creative industries define authorship and ownership. When AI produces a painting or a song, who owns it? The person who trained the model, the user who gave the prompt, or the collective creators whose works formed the training data? These are ongoing debates with legal and ethical implications. AI creativity also challenges education. Students can now generate essays, artworks, or projects using AI tools. This raises questions about learning objectives. Should education continue to emphasize the production of outputs, or shift toward developing critical thinking, analysis, and the ability to guide AI systems responsibly? The evolution of AI creativity suggests that the distinction between human and machine roles will depend on intentional design. Humans still control the goals, prompts, and evaluation of creative outputs. The danger arises when this control is surrendered, when people accept generated content uncritically or allow algorithms to determine taste and trend. In summary, artificial intelligence produces creative work through data-driven pattern recognition and statistical prediction. Its outputs can be impressive, but lack intrinsic understanding, emotional significance, and contextual awareness. The more humans rely on it without critical engagement, the more likely originality will decline. To evaluate whether AI is killing or enhancing creativity, we must now examine the broader cultural and psychological effects of this technology, how it influences motivation, originality, and the human sense of creative identity.
The cultural and psychological effects of AI on creativity. Artificial intelligence is not only changing how creative work is produced, it is also reshaping how people think about creativity itself. Technology does more than assist artists. It influences culture, values, and the psychology of those who use it. Creativity has always been tied to human identity. For centuries, societies have admired artists, inventors, and thinkers for their ability to bring something new into existence. Creative work was seen as an expression of individuality and imagination, something uniquely human. However, as AI begins to generate music, paintings, poetry, and even ideas, that sense of exclusivity is being challenged. One of the most significant cultural shifts caused by AI is the redefinition of originality. In the past, originality meant producing something that had never existed before, often through unique skill or vision. But AI systems generate countless variations in seconds. This abundance of content has created a new kind of saturation, where it becomes difficult to distinguish between what is genuinely original and what is algorithmically assembled. As a result, audiences are becoming more focused on style and novelty than on depth or meaning. Social media platforms reinforce this pattern. Algorithms promote content that gains quick attention, bright visuals, catchy hooks, or emotionally charged phrases over work that requires reflection. The creative process shifts from exploration to optimization, with creators adapting to what algorithms reward.
This cultural pressure affects human creators psychologically. Many artists and writers report feeling discouraged or displaced by AI-generated content. When a machine can produce a polished image or a well-written paragraph in seconds, the human effort behind art can feel devalued. What once took years of learning and practice can now be replicated by a prompt. This sense of competition can lead to creative insecurity. Instead of expressing personal vision, some creators feel pressured to imitate AI-generated trends just to remain visible. Others use AI tools defensively, trying to keep up with the speed of automated production. The result is a tension between expression and survival, between authenticity and efficiency. However, not all psychological effects are negative. Some people experience AI as a source of inspiration rather than replacement. By generating ideas, references, or alternative perspectives, AI can help creators overcome mental blocks and experiment more freely. In this sense, it acts as a collaborator, an assistant that expands the boundaries of what is possible.
The impact of AI also varies depending on the individual's relationship with creativity. For professionals, AI may be a disruptive competitor. For learners or hobbyists, it can be empowering. Tools that simplify design, music composition, or writing make creative expression more accessible to those who might otherwise lack the technical skills to begin. In that way, AI democratizes creativity, giving more people the ability to participate in cultural production. Yet, democratization brings its own paradox. When everyone can create easily, the meaning of creative achievement changes. The effort that once made creative work special becomes invisible. The line between professional and amateur blurs. Art becomes abundant, but attention becomes scarce. In this new environment, visibility becomes the true currency. The challenge is no longer how to create, but how to be noticed. This shift affects the psychology of motivation. Traditionally, creativity was driven by intrinsic motivation, the desire to express, to explore, or to communicate something meaningful. But algorithmic environments often reward extrinsic motivation, likes, views, and engagement metrics. When AI helps creators optimize for these metrics, creativity risks becoming transactional.
The goal shifts from discovery to performance.
Culturally, this can lead to a form of creative homogenization. When algorithms recommend similar styles and reward predictability, artistic diversity narrows. The same visual trends, phrasing, and structures appear repeatedly because they align with what data shows to be successful. Over time, originality declines not because humans stop being creative, but because systems discourage deviation. The psychological consequence of this trend is creative fatigue, a sense of sameness and repetition. When creators see endless streams of content that look or sound alike, it becomes difficult to feel inspired. Many describe the modern creative landscape as overwhelming, where innovation feels drowned by volume. There is also an ethical dimension to these cultural changes. AI systems learn from human-made works, yet they often produce outputs that mimic specific styles without crediting or compensating the original creators. This has generated debates about artistic ownership and fair use. Artists may feel that their creative labor has been absorbed into a system that benefits corporations more than individuals.
From a broader psychological perspective, this contributes to a loss of creative identity. When algorithms dominate what people see, listen to, and engage with, personal taste becomes algorithmically shaped. Instead of exploring new forms, audiences are subtly guided toward what data predicts they will enjoy. Over time, this can narrow curiosity and reduce the diversity of human imagination. Nevertheless, there remains a powerful counter-trend. Many educators, artists, and thinkers are beginning to treat AI not as a threat, but as a mirror, something that reflects the patterns of human creativity and forces society to question what creativity truly means. If a machine can mimic creativity, then what distinguishes human expression? The answer may lie in meaning, intention, and context, qualities that machines cannot fully replicate. Human creativity often arises from lived experience, emotion, memory, and perspective. It carries the trace of personal history. AI-generated art lacks that biographical dimension. It can simulate feeling, but it cannot feel. Understanding this difference can restore balance. The more society values authenticity and context, the less likely human creativity will be overshadowed by automation. Ultimately, the cultural and psychological effects of AI depend on how humans choose to engage with it. If used critically and thoughtfully, it can broaden creativity. If used passively, it can diminish it. The outcome is not determined by the technology itself, but by the intentions and awareness of those who use it. The next step in understanding this dynamic is to explore the ethical and philosophical dimensions of AI creativity, how it challenges traditional ideas of authorship, ownership, and human purpose. The ethical and philosophical dimensions of AI creativity. The rise of artificial intelligence in creative work has not only changed artistic practice, but also raised important ethical and philosophical questions. These questions go beyond technology. They touch on authorship, ownership, responsibility, and the meaning of human contribution in a world where machines can create. One of the central ethical issues is authorship. In traditional art, the creator is a human being whose identity and intent give the work meaning. With AI, this line becomes unclear. When an AI system produces a painting or a song, who is the author? The programmer who built the model? The user who provided the prompt? Or the AI itself as an independent system?
Current legal frameworks do not recognize AI as an author or owner of intellectual property. In most countries, copyright belongs to the human who guided or used the AI, provided there is some degree of creative input. However, as AI systems become more autonomous, this standard becomes harder to apply. If a system generates something without human intervention, it falls into a legal and moral gray area.
Another ethical concern is data and ownership. AI systems are trained on massive data sets that include text, images, music, and videos, often created by human artists. In many cases, this material is used without explicit permission or compensation. As a result, the creative labor of thousands of individuals becomes raw material for systems that can later compete with those same individuals. This raises questions about fairness and transparency. Should artists have the right to know whether their work is included in training data? Should they be compensated when AI models generate content in their style? Some emerging regulations and technologies, such as data provenance tracking and opt-out mechanisms, aim to address these concerns, but implementation remains inconsistent. Philosophically, AI challenges long-standing beliefs about creativity and consciousness. For centuries, creativity has been regarded as evidence of human uniqueness, the ability to imagine, invent, and express. When AI systems generate creative outputs, they blur that distinction. Are they truly creative, or are they simply performing a complex form of imitation? One way to examine this question is through the concept of intentionality. Human creativity involves intention and awareness of purpose and meaning. A painter chooses colors to express emotion. A writer chooses words to convey thought. AI does not have intention. It generates based on patterns, probabilities, and prompts, not on understanding or desire. Its output may appear meaningful, but that meaning exists only because humans interpret it as such.
Another philosophical issue is originality. Traditional views of creativity assume that new ideas arise from an individual's imagination. Yet all creativity, human or machine, builds upon existing material. Humans learn through imitation and inspiration, just as AI learns through data. The difference lies in interpretation. Humans reinterpret information through lived experience, forming unique perspectives. AI recombines information statistically, without interpretation or personal context. This distinction raises an important question. Is creativity defined by the process or by the product? If creativity is about the process, the mental and emotional journey of creation, then AI cannot be creative. If it's about the product, the novelty or usefulness of the outcome, then AI might qualify as creative under certain conditions. Different philosophical traditions approach this question differently. From a humanist perspective, creativity is inseparable from consciousness. It reflects individuality, moral choice, and emotional depth, qualities machines do not possess. From a functional perspective, creativity can be measured by output. If something is new and valuable, it may be considered creative, regardless of who or what made it. This perspective is often favored in computer science and cognitive research. There is also an ethical question of responsibility. If an AI system generates misleading, offensive, or harmful content, who is accountable? The developer, the user, or the machine? Because AI operates based on data and algorithms, bias in the training process can lead to biased outputs. This means ethical responsibility extends not just to users, but also to those who design and train the models. Furthermore, AI-generated creativity can be used in ways that affect social trust. Deepfakes, synthetic media, and AI-written text can blur the line between truth and fabrication. This has implications not only for art, but for journalism, politics, and education.
The ability to generate realistic but false information challenges how societies verify authenticity and meaning. On a deeper philosophical level, AI creativity forces us to reconsider the purpose of human creativity itself. If machines can generate music, images, and writing that satisfy audiences, what is left for humans to contribute? The answer may lie not in competing with AI, but in emphasizing qualities that remain uniquely human: reflection, ethics, emotion, and moral intention. Human creativity often seeks connection. It's about communication, sharing experiences, values, and perspectives. AI does not have experiences to share. It mirrors patterns, but it does not participate in life. For this reason, human creativity continues to hold moral and cultural significance, even in an automated age. The ethical and philosophical conversation extends to education and workforce transformation. As AI becomes integrated into creative industries, advertising, design, filmmaking, and music production, there are concerns about displacement. Many professionals worry about job loss, while others see opportunities for new hybrid roles that combine human and machine capabilities. In response, some educators advocate for creative literacy, teaching individuals not only how to use AI tools, but also how to think critically about them. Understanding how AI systems work, what their limits are, and how to use them ethically may become an essential part of creative education. Philosophically, this shift could lead to a redefinition of what it means to be creative. Rather than measuring creativity by skill or output, societies may begin to value conceptual thinking, interpretation, and judgment, the uniquely human ability to assign meaning. In summary, the ethical and philosophical challenges surrounding AI creativity remind us that technology does not exist in isolation. It reflects human values, choices, and priorities. The way societies choose to integrate AI will determine whether it strengthens or weakens the moral foundation of creative expression. In the next section, we will examine the economic and industrial impact of AI on creative fields, how it is transforming art, media, design, and entertainment, and what this means for the future of creative labor.
The economic and industrial impact of AI on creative fields. Artificial intelligence is not only a technological or philosophical development, it is also an economic force reshaping the structure of creative industries worldwide. From art and film to advertising, design, journalism, and music, AI is changing how creative work is produced, distributed, and valued. To understand these changes, it helps to begin with how creative industries traditionally functioned. For most of modern history, creative production depended on human expertise. Artists, writers, musicians, editors, designers, and filmmakers, whose skills developed through years of training and practice. These professionals often worked within institutions, such as studios, agencies, or publishing houses, where creative output required significant time, cost, and collaboration. Artificial intelligence has altered this structure by introducing automation and scalability. Tasks that once required specialized human labor, such as photo editing, music composition, or video scripting, can now be performed by algorithms in seconds. This dramatically reduces production time and cost, allowing businesses and individuals to generate large amounts of content with minimal resources. The immediate economic advantage is clear. AI lowers barriers to entry. Independent creators, small companies, and freelancers can now compete in spaces once dominated by large organizations. However, this democratization also leads to market saturation. When millions of creators have access to the same tools, the supply of content far exceeds demand, which can drive down the perceived value of creative work.
This phenomenon is especially visible in industries like digital art and stock media. AI-generated visuals have flooded online marketplaces, offering high-quality images at little or no cost. As a result, the demand for human-made illustrations, photography, and design work has declined in many commercial sectors.
In music, AI systems can compose background tracks, jingles, or full songs tailored to specific moods or styles. Streaming platforms and advertisers increasingly rely on these generative systems for inexpensive, royalty-free content. While this creates efficiency, it also reduces opportunities for human composers and producers, particularly those working in lower budget or entry-level markets. In film and entertainment industries are also undergoing transformation. AI tools are used for tasks like script writing assistance, visual effects generation, casting predictions, and automated dubbing. Some studios experiment with virtual actors or AI-driven animation pipelines to cut production costs. While this accelerates output, it raises concerns about creative homogenization and the displacement of skilled workers such as editors, animators, and screenwriters. In journalism and publishing, AI has become capable of generating news articles, summaries, and even entire reports. Automated content production allows media companies to publish quickly and continuously. However, this efficiency sometimes comes at the cost of depth, nuance, and investigative quality. AI-generated articles may lack context or ethical judgment, which are essential to responsible journalism.
Economically, the integration of AI introduces a divide between those who control technology and those who depend on it. The companies developing and owning large AI models often benefit the most, as they can scale operations and license their tools globally. In contrast, individual creators may lose control over how their work is used or valued. This creates what economists call a value concentration effect, where profits and influence become centralized among a small number of technology companies, while the rest of the creative workforce becomes increasingly fragmented. Artists and content creators may find themselves working as AI operators rather than independent producers, guiding algorithms instead of directly creating. Despite these challenges, AI also creates new opportunities. The emergence of creative technology roles, such as AI prompt designers, model trainers, data curators, and digital ethicists, reflects the changing skill demand of the industry. People who can combine artistic understanding with technical literacy are becoming highly valuable in this new landscape. Another major impact is on marketing and personalization. AI enables hyper-targeted content that can adapt to individual preferences. For instance, advertisements, visuals, or storylines can be automatically adjusted to suit different audiences. This level of personalization would be impossible without machine learning. For businesses, it represents a competitive advantage. For creators, it introduces both opportunity and pressure to produce content optimized for algorithmic audiences.
From a macroeconomic perspective, AI contributes to a shift from a creation economy to a curation economy. As more content is generated automatically, the most valuable skill becomes the ability to curate, contextualize, and interpret. Human judgment, selecting what matters, what resonates, and what aligns with human values, becomes the defining factor in a saturated digital landscape. Labor economists have also identified a growing trend of creative displacement. While some traditional jobs decline, others evolve. For example, illustrators may move toward concept development rather than final artwork. Writers may focus on editing and refining AI drafts. Musicians may use AI tools to explore new genres or production techniques. In these cases, human labor shifts from manual creation to direction, supervision, and critical evaluation. However, this transition is not equally distributed. Regions and industries with strong technological infrastructure adapt faster, while others face job loss without adequate retraining opportunities. This creates global disparities in the creative economy, where access to AI technology determines participation and income potential.
There are also ethical implications in this economic transformation. When AI-generated work enters commercial spaces, consumers may not always know whether they are engaging with human-made or machine-made content. This raises questions about transparency and authenticity. Some countries and platforms have begun introducing labeling policies, requiring creators to disclose when content is AI-generated. In addition, the environmental cost of AI cannot be ignored. Training and operating large-scale AI models require significant computational power and energy consumption. As creative industries rely more heavily on generative tools, sustainability becomes an important part of the conversation. Looking ahead, the integration of AI into creative industries is likely to continue expanding. Economists predict a hybrid model of production, where human insight combines with algorithmic efficiency. Companies that successfully balance both elements, using AI for efficiency while preserving human-led direction and emotion, will likely lead in innovation. Ultimately, the economic and industrial impact of AI on creativity reflects a broader societal transition. Automation is not simply replacing human creativity, it is redefining the value of human contribution. The challenge is to ensure that technology enhances rather than erodes the cultural and economic importance of creative work. The next section will explore how education and learning systems can adapt to this reality, examining how schools, universities, and training programs can prepare the next generation to thrive in a world where creativity and AI coexist.
Education, learning, and the future of creative skills. As artificial intelligence becomes more deeply integrated into creative fields, education faces a critical responsibility, preparing individuals to coexist with, guide, and ethically manage these technologies. The question is no longer whether AI will influence education, it already has, but rather how schools, universities, and learning institutions can adapt their systems to maintain human creativity in the age of intelligent machines. For centuries, education in creative disciplines focused on developing manual skills and conceptual understanding. Artists learned technique, designers studied form and function, and writers practiced structure and expression. These processes took time, requiring patience and discipline. Artificial intelligence changes this model by automating many technical steps, shifting emphasis away from manual execution toward conceptual thinking, critical analysis, and digital literacy. The first major shift in creative education involves redefining what it means to be skilled. In a traditional sense, skill meant mastery of craft, painting by hand, composing by ear, or editing film manually. In an AI-driven world, skill increasingly means the ability to direct, interpret, and refine machine outputs. The creative process becomes less about generating from nothing and more about curating, combining, and providing intentional direction. This does not mean traditional techniques lose value. In fact, they become even more essential for understanding quality and meaning. A designer who understands visual composition can use AI tools more effectively because they recognize what makes an image successful. A musician who knows theory can experiment with AI-generated melodies intelligently rather than accepting them passively. The future of creative education, therefore, lies in integration, not replacement. Students must learn both traditional and digital methods, understanding when and why to use each.
2. Digital and AI literacy. A foundational requirement for modern creativity is AI literacy, the ability to understand how artificial intelligence works, what it can and cannot do, and how to use it responsibly. This literacy goes beyond technical training. It includes critical awareness of bias, data ethics, and the implications of automation. For example, when a student uses an AI tool to generate an image or text, they should also understand how that output was formed, what data the system learned from, what limitations it has, and what potential ethical issues may arise. This awareness builds accountability and ensures that creative use of AI aligns with intellectual honesty and social responsibility. Educational institutions can incorporate AI literacy into existing programs through interdisciplinary courses that merge technology, ethics, and creative practice. Students of art, media, and literature can learn the fundamentals of machine learning, while engineering and computer science students can study design, aesthetics, and storytelling. This kind of cross-disciplinary education helps bridge the gap between creativity and computation. 3. The role of teachers and mentors. Teachers play a vital role in this transition. Their focus must expand from teaching technique alone to guiding critical thinking, curiosity, and originality, qualities that cannot be automated. Instructors can help students move beyond passive tool use toward meaningful exploration. Instead of simply asking students to produce an artwork, for example, educators might ask them to explain why they made certain choices, or how AI contributed to or changed their thinking. Reflection becomes as important as production. Furthermore, teachers can model responsible use of technology, demonstrating how to evaluate AI outputs critically, how to fact-check generative content, and how to maintain integrity in digital creation fosters ethical habits early in a student's learning process. 4. Lifelong learning and adaptability. The rapid evolution of AI demands a continuous education. Creative skills that are relevant today may evolve or become obsolete within a few years. Therefore, adaptability becomes a core competency for creative professionals. Educational systems must encourage lifelong learning, not only in formal institutions, but through online platforms, workshops, and community-based learning networks. Individuals need to be comfortable updating their skills as technologies change. In the creative fields, this might include learning new software, experimenting with new forms of media, or studying emerging digital aesthetics. Adaptability also involves psychological resilience. As automation transforms industries, many creative professionals will experience uncertainty. Education can help by teaching flexibility, problem-solving, and self-efficacy, the confidence to navigate technological change rather than fear it. 5. Collaboration between humans and machines. A central educational challenge is helping students understand the dynamics of human-AI collaboration. The most successful creative professionals of the future will not compete with machines, but work alongside them, combining human intuition with algorithmic efficiency. Students can learn how to structure prompts, evaluate AI-generated results, and combine multiple tools to produce sophisticated outcomes. More importantly, they must learn to retain human oversight, to make judgments about context, ethics, and meaning that AI cannot. This balance between creativity and control is a skill in itself. Some institutions are already introducing collaborative projects where students co-create with AI tools. For instance, film students might use generative models for storyboarding, while writers use AI to develop plot outlines or character concepts. These exercises teach both technical fluency and ethical reflection, emphasizing that AI should serve as a creative assistant, not a creative authority.
6. Preserving human creativity. While technological skills are essential, education must continue to protect and nurture the human aspects of creativity, emotion, empathy, and narrative thinking. These are the dimensions that give creative work purpose and cultural value. Courses that focus on history, philosophy, and psychology remain crucial because they provide context for creative expression. Students who understand cultural history are better equipped to evaluate how AI-generated content fits or conflicts with human tradition and meaning. Creative thinking exercises, group discussions, and exposure to diverse perspectives also help maintain originality. Unlike AI, humans thrive on contradiction, unpredictability, and imagination. Education systems that encourage curiosity and critical dialogue help preserve these uniquely human traits. 7. Global and societal considerations. Access to AI tools and education is not evenly distributed worldwide. Wealthier regions and institutions often have greater access to advanced technology, while others lag behind. This disparity risks creating a global creativity gap, where only certain groups can fully participate in AI-enhanced innovation. Education policy can address this imbalance by promoting open access tools, digital inclusion programs, and affordable AI training resources. Global cooperation among universities, technology companies, and governments can ensure that AI-enhanced creativity remains accessible to all.
8. The future of assessment and evaluation. AI also challenges how creativity is assessed. If students can use AI to produce artwork or essays, how can educators measure genuine learning? The answer lies in evaluating process over product. Instead of grading the final outcome, teachers can assess the student's reasoning, experimentation, and reflection. This encourages independent thought and discourages reliance on automation. Assignments might include process journals, critical analyses, or project documentation showing how AI tools were used and why. Such practices reinforce accountability and transparency, while still allowing students to explore technology creatively. In summary, education in the era of artificial intelligence must balance technological literacy with humanistic understanding. It must teach both how to use AI effectively and why creative judgment still matters. The goal is not to resist automation, but to cultivate creative thinkers who can use technology with awareness, purpose, and ethical responsibility. The next section will explore how this transformation affects the future of creativity itself, examining emerging trends, possible scenarios, and the evolving relationship between humans and intelligent machines. The future of creativity in the age of artificial intelligence represents one of the most significant turning points in the history of human creativity. Just as the printing press transformed communication, photography reshaped art, and the internet redefined access to information, AI is reshaping what it means to create. However, unlike previous technologies, AI does not simply extend human ability, it begins to imitate aspects of imagination itself. The question for the future is not whether AI will replace creativity, but how creativity will change because of AI. To understand this, we must look at emerging trends, possible futures, and the evolving partnership between humans and intelligent systems. First, the convergence of human and machine creativity. In the coming decades, the boundary between human and machine creativity is expected to become increasingly fluid. Artists, writers, and designers are already using AI not as a final producer, but as a collaborative partner, a system that generates ideas, assists experimentation, and expands creative possibilities. For example, visual artists use generative models to test new compositions. Musicians collaborate with AI programs that compose melodies based on mood or genre. Writers explore tools that generate dialogue or suggest narrative structures. These hybrid processes represent a shift from exclusive authorship to shared creation, where the final outcome reflects both human direction and algorithmic assistance. This approach redefines creativity as a co-evolutionary process. Humans provide context, emotion, and intention, while AI contributes speed, analysis, and variety. Together, they produce forms of expression that neither could achieve alone.
2. Personalized and adaptive creativity. One of the most transformative possibilities of AI lies in personalization. Algorithms can learn from individual preferences, feedback, and creative habits, adapting tools to suit each creator's style. In the future, creative software may act as a personalized collaborator, one that understands a user's tone, pacing, and aesthetic goals, providing tailored suggestions in real time. This could revolutionize fields such as education, entertainment, and design. Writers might use adaptive AI editors that evolve with their voice. Musicians could perform with systems that adjust compositions on stage. Designers might collaborate with tools that predict audience response to specific visual choices. However, this personalization also raises questions about authenticity. When AI adapts to individual taste, it may reinforce existing habits rather than challenge them. True creativity often involves discomfort, exploring beyond one's comfort zone. Thus, future creative systems must balance assistance with stimulation, providing not just convenience, but intellectual growth. 3. The rise of immersive and multi-sensory creativity. Artificial intelligence is also merging with technologies such as virtual reality, VR, augmented reality, AR, and brain-computer interfaces, BCI. Together, these developments are leading to immersive forms of creativity that blend physical and digital experience. In this emerging landscape, artists may not only paint or compose, they may design entire experiences that respond dynamically to viewers. Imagine an interactive film that changes its storyline based on the audience's emotions, or a musical performance where melodies shift according to brainwave patterns. These forms of creation rely on AI's capacity to interpret complex data in real time. As a result, creativity becomes participative and adaptive, blurring the distinction between artist and audience. Such innovations may also redefine the creative industries themselves. Traditional boundaries between art forms, film, music, literature, visual art, could merge into hybrid media ecosystems, supported by AI that manages complexity behind the scenes. 4. Ethical and cultural futures. As AI-generated creativity becomes widespread, societies will need to address ethical, cultural, and legal frameworks for ownership and authenticity. Future policy debates may focus on defining intellectual property for AI-assisted works, ensuring fair credit, and protecting human creators from exploitation. There may also be efforts to preserve cultural diversity. Because many AI systems are trained on global datasets dominated by certain languages and cultures, they risk reinforcing uniformity. Protecting regional art forms, languages, and traditional expressions will require deliberate curation and inclusion in digital training processes. At the same time, AI could help preserve endangered cultural heritage by digitizing, restoring, or simulating traditional arts that might otherwise disappear.
The future of creativity may therefore involve not only innovation, but conservation, using technology to protect what makes human culture diverse. 5. New definitions of creative value. As AI continues to generate vast amounts of art, writing, and music, the concept of value in creativity will inevitably change. When production is unlimited, scarcity is no longer the measure of worth. Instead, value will shift toward meaning, context, and intent, qualities that remain distinctly human. In this environment, creative success may depend less on technical skill and more on conceptual insight. The ability to frame ideas, ask original questions, and interpret results will define the most respected creators. Human creativity may evolve into a form of meta-creativity, the creativity of designing systems, directions, and purposes for AI itself. At the same time, audiences will likely begin to differentiate between AI-generated and human-created works. Just as handmade craftsmanship regained cultural value in the industrial age, human-made art may become more appreciated precisely because it is rare and intentional. This suggests a dual market, one for efficiency-driven AI content and another for authentic, human-centered expression. 6. Collaboration across disciplines. The future of creativity will also depend on interdisciplinary collaboration. As the boundaries between technology, art, and science blur, innovation will emerge from teams that combine expertise across domains. Scientists may work with artists to visualize complex data. Musicians may collaborate with engineers to design intelligent instruments. Writers may partner with psychologists to explore emotion-driven storytelling. AI serves as the common language in these collaborations, enabling people from different fields to experiment and communicate through shared digital platforms. This interdisciplinary trend could accelerate problem-solving and innovation in areas beyond the arts, including education, climate communication, and healthcare design.
7. The human role in an automated world. In an age where machines can produce text, sound, and imagery, the enduring question becomes, what remains uniquely human? The answer may lie in conscious reflection, the capacity to question meaning, make moral decisions, and understand experience in emotional depth. While AI can generate form and pattern, it cannot interpret life through empathy or memory. Human creativity draws from personal experience, joy, loss, curiosity, and moral struggle, all of which give art and invention their emotional resonance. Thus, even as AI reshapes the creative process, the essence of human creativity remains grounded in interpretation and purpose. Technology may accelerate production, but meaning still originates from human consciousness. 8. Scenarios for the future. Experts propose several possible trajectories for creativity in the AI era. Integration scenario. Humans and AI collaborate symbiotically. Creativity expands through hybrid workflows, with education and ethics keeping pace with innovation. Displacement scenario. Automation dominates commercial creativity. Human artists struggle to compete, leading to cultural homogenization and reduced diversity. Regenerative scenario. Societies value human authenticity and experience-driven art, leading to a revival of traditional forms alongside advanced AI tools. Adaptive scenario. Creative industries continuously evolve through experimentation, with AI serving as a flexible instrument for research, art, and innovation. Which path emerges will depend on collective choices, how governments regulate technology, how educators teach it, and how individuals choose to use it. 9. A balanced vision. The future of creativity is unlikely to be defined by conflict between humans and machines, but by balance. AI will continue to transform the tools, speed, and scale of creative work, but human beings will remain the source of meaning, ethics, and emotional connection.
The most innovative creators of the future will not be those who resist technology, but those who understand it deeply and use it wisely, merging insight with empathy and efficiency with intention. In this balance lies the true promise of creativity in the age of artificial intelligence, a partnership that expands human potential rather than replaces it. In the final section, we will conclude the entire discussion, summarizing what the rise of AI means for human creativity and outlining how society can ensure that technological progress strengthens rather than diminishes human imagination. Conclusion: preserving human creativity in the age of artificial intelligence. The relationship between artificial intelligence and human creativity is not a struggle for dominance, it is a test of understanding. It challenges us to define what creativity truly means, to separate imitation from imagination, and to decide how technology should serve humanity rather than replace it. Over the course of history, every major technological revolution has raised fears of creative decline. The invention of the camera was said to threaten painting. The rise of the typewriter was believed to weaken handwriting and individuality. The emergence of digital media once sparked concerns that physical art forms would disappear. Yet each transformation ultimately expanded creative possibility. The same will likely prove true for artificial intelligence if it is guided with wisdom and ethical awareness.
What we have learned. Throughout this discussion, several insights have emerged. First, creativity is not limited to producing something new. It involves interpretation, intention, and emotion. AI can replicate structure, but it cannot originate meaning in the same way humans do. Human creativity is rooted in consciousness, the ability to reflect, to care, and to connect ideas through lived experience. Second, AI is not inherently destructive. It is a tool, and like all tools, its value depends on how it is used. When applied thoughtfully, it can remove technical barriers, amplify experimentation, and democratize access to creative opportunities. But when used carelessly, it risks promoting uniformity, dependence, and superficial output. Third, the evolution of creativity is moving toward collaboration rather than competition. The most successful creators of the future will integrate AI into their process, not as a substitute for thinking, but as a stimulus for deeper exploration. The human mind, paired with intelligent systems, can push the boundaries of what has ever been possible in art, science, and design. The human element in a machine age. Despite rapid progress, artificial intelligence still lacks one defining attribute: conscious experience. It can generate combinations, but it does not understand them. It does not feel satisfaction, curiosity, or wonder. It does not create with purpose. It operates through probability. Human creativity, by contrast, is inseparable from emotion. It is often born from imperfection, uncertainty, and struggle. Pain, joy, and moral conflict drive the stories we tell and the images we create. These emotional dimensions cannot be reduced to data or logic. They arise from lived reality. Therefore, the task ahead is not to compete with AI on technical grounds, but to deepen the distinctly human aspects of creativity: empathy, insight, storytelling, and moral vision. These are the elements that give art and innovation their lasting value. Education and the next generation of creators. The preservation of creativity begins with education. As AI tools become widespread, schools and universities must move beyond teaching mechanical skills alone. They must emphasize critical thinking, ethical reasoning, and interdisciplinary curiosity. Students should learn not only how to use AI tools, but also how to question them, how to interpret bias, recognize limitation, and understand the broader social context of technology. Creative education must focus on the why as much as the how. In the future, artistic and technical training will likely merge. The most capable creators will understand both narrative and algorithm, both composition and computation. This integration will form the foundation of a new kind of literacy, creative intelligence, the ability to combine human insight with machine capability in a meaningful way. Cultural responsibility and ethical boundaries. As AI-generated content becomes increasingly realistic, the world faces challenges of authenticity and accountability. False or artificially enhanced creations can easily distort perception. Thus, maintaining transparency in creative processes will be crucial. Creators, institutions, and policymakers must ensure that audiences can distinguish between human and machine contributions. Ethical guidelines such as data sourcing, consent, and fair credit should be embedded into every stage of AI-assisted creativity. Cultural responsibility also involves inclusivity. To prevent a homogenized global culture, AI systems must represent diverse perspectives and languages. Curating datasets that include non-Western traditions, regional art, and minority voices ensures that the creative future remains varied and equitable. The balance between innovation and reflection. Technological progress tends to move faster than reflection. The temptation to adopt every new tool without considering its consequences can lead to shallow creativity and loss of authenticity. True innovation requires balance, the ability to experiment while remaining grounded in purpose. Every creator should ask, does this technology expand my ability to express meaning, or does it merely produce novelty? Reflection ensures that technology serves human vision, not the reverse. The future of creativity depends on maintaining this balance, using AI to enhance imagination without surrendering it. Creativity as a shared human responsibility. Human creativity has always been more than individual expression. It is a collective responsibility. Art, literature, and invention shape the moral and cultural identity of societies. As AI transforms the creative process, it also transforms how we share and interpret meaning. In this new era, collaboration will extend beyond disciplines to include partnerships between humans and machines. But even then, it will be up to people to set direction, to ensure that technology amplifies empathy rather than exploitation, diversity rather than uniformity, and curiosity rather than complacency. The future of creativity is therefore not about replacing human imagination, but preserving its integrity in a digital world. Looking ahead, if history teaches anything, it is that creativity adapts. The painter, who feared photography, learned to express light in new ways. The writer, who feared the typewriter, used it to refine language. The filmmaker, who feared digital effects, discovered new filmic dimensions. Artificial intelligence is the next chapter in that same story. It challenges humanity to evolve its understanding of imagination itself. Whether AI becomes a force that enriches or diminishes human creativity will depend on choices made now by educators, policymakers, innovators, and individuals. The tools are neutral. The outcomes are not. The essence of human creativity. At its core, creativity is not a product, it is an act of interpretation. It is how the human mind transforms experience into meaning, and meaning into expression. Artificial intelligence can simulate patterns, but it cannot replace perspective. It can generate images, but it cannot experience beauty. It can predict emotion, but it cannot feel it. This is what ensures that human creativity will endure. As long as people continue to question, reflect, and imagine, art and innovation will remain fundamentally human pursuits, enhanced by technology, but never defined by it. Closing thoughts. The rise of artificial intelligence marks a profound moment in human history. It compels us to reconsider what it means to think, to create, and to be original. AI will continue to evolve, offering extraordinary tools for artistic and intellectual exploration. Yet the soul of creativity, the desire to express, to connect, to understand, remains human. The task ahead is not to protect creativity from technology, but to guide technology with creativity. If humanity approaches AI with curiosity, discipline, and ethical awareness, the future will not be one where machines kill imagination, but one where imagination expands through them. The age of artificial intelligence is, ultimately, an invitation, an opportunity to rediscover what makes human creativity unique, irreplaceable, and infinite.